Like what you see here? Then be sure to subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8, a channel devoted to the history of college football. New videos drop twice a week. Click the card in the upper right corner or the link in the description to subscribe now. And now, on with our feature presentation.
A while ago on my football channel, Jaguar Gator 9, and I truly mean a long time ago, I talked about one of the craziest votes for Rookie of the Year of all time, involving this man right here, St. Louis Cardinals quarterback Jim Hart. In 1967, Hart started all 14 games under center for the Cardinals, threw for over 3,000 yards, and threw 19 touchdowns, with both of these totals being inside the top 10 of the league. While he was an interception machine that season, throwing a league-high 30 picks, he looked incredibly promising for a youngster, especially someone who wasn't even drafted, and looked like he could be the Cards quarterback of the future. And for his efforts, he received some votes for AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, coming fourth in the rankings. No, he didn't win, as running back Mel Farr of the Detroit Lions won with his over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. But Hart received some recognition for his efforts. There was just one small problem. Yeah, Hart wasn't a rookie. In no way should he have received any votes whatsoever for AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, seeing as he was not in his first season, as not only was his rookie season in 1966, but he even threw passes and got playing time that season. It was a massive oversight that this man, Jim Hart, got votes for an award that he was not eligible for. But that's what happens when writers don't do their homework. If you want to learn more about the controversy, you can do so by clicking the card in the upper right corner. So why do I bring this up? Because the NFL is not the only sport that something like this has happened in. This player right here is Philadelphia Phillies outfielder Chris James. And in 1987, on an incredibly underwhelming and disappointing Phillies team, he was looking like a bright spot, like a possible building block of the future, and like one of the best young players in the game. And the writers rewarded him for it in a way that you can probably imagine based on the Jim Hart story I told earlier. Yet, let's just say that the reward he got, he was not even the slightest bit eligible for, and chaos ensued because of it. Because this is the story behind Chris James, the 1987 Philadelphia Phillies, and one of the dumbest voters and writers in the history of Major League Baseball. Before I talk about the controversy in question, and just how the heck something like this could even happen in the first place, we need some context to understand just who Chris James was, and how well he was playing. I think it's fair to say that the 1987 season for the Phillies was a massively frustrating one, especially after finishing second in the NL East the previous year. The season was over just as quickly as it started, as after 27 games, the Phils found themselves dead last in the NL East with an abysmal 9-18 record, losing 2 out of every 3 games. They fired their manager midway through the season, and even though it looked like things might be turning around in the second half of the season, as they did rebound by the middle of August to be 66-57 and be just 6.5 games back at first, which was a remarkable feat considering where they started and were nearly 15 games back a month before, a late season collapse put the nail in the coffin, as the Phillies lost 25 of their final 39 games to end the season with a disappointing, below 500 record of 80-82. It was a poor season in more ways than one, with underperformances left, right, and center, from 6-time All-Star catcher Lance Parrish having the worst slugging percentage of his career after being acquired in free agency from the Detroit Tigers, and being a double-play machine who you could easily steal bases on, to All-Star pitcher Shane Rawley posting the worst ERA of his career in Philadelphia, with it rising by nearly a full run from the previous year, to a bunch of other players and factors. However, if there was one thing that wasn't disappointing, and if there was one bright spot in an otherwise really dark season, it was the play of the man that you've been watching this whole time, outfielder Chris James. The story of how James even made it to the majors is quite remarkable. seeing as he was thinking about playing football with his brother, Craig, who became a Pro Bowl running back with the New England Patriots, and he dropped out of junior college before even playing a game. Said Chris on JUCO, "It was the worst 6 weeks of my life. We had 25 players on baseball scholarship, and 400 who just came in and tried out. We wound up standing out there 5 hours a day." The Phillies got tipped off by his coach at Blinn College that this guy might be something. He got a $2,500 check and never thought he'd make it after playing just an inning in his first spring training. And the story gets even more remarkable when you realize that he thought so little of his ability to make it that at first, when he was in the minor league system in Single A, he took up rodeo and riding bulls and tried to make it there, since he didn't think he could make it as a pro baseball player. The Phillies had to put a no rodeo clause into his contract, because as James said, "I found out you've got to be pretty crazy to ride bulls." I guess the Phillies got a little nervous when somebody told them a lot of healers are missing fingers. That thin nylon rope can cut right through bone if you get a finger caught in there. Having said that, despite the odd way that James got to the majors, in 1987, at just 24 years old, he was the everyday left fielder on the team, and established himself as one of the most consistent players on the entire team, and a guy that you could easily depend on. There was a solid 6-week stretch where James might have been one of the best hitters in all of baseball, as in a 6-week stretch from June 29th to August 14th, consisting of 39 games and 156 plate appearances, James hit .352 and got on base roughly 40% of the time. In that stretch was 1 week where he hit .526 with an on-base percentage of .625, which obviously is incredible if in a week while starting every game, you're getting on base 5 out of 8 times. He was incredibly clutch, hitting 5 go-ahead hits. He had a few notable hitting streaks, including one stretch with an 11-game streak. And when all was said and done, he finished the season hitting .293, which was tied with eventual Hall of Famer Mike Schmidt for the second highest average amongst all qualified batters on the Phillies. He also had the second highest slugging percentage on the team, the third highest OPS on the team, and was great at avoiding the disaster play, as he only grounded into 4 double plays all year, which was a nice change of pace from Lance Parrish, who had a comparable number of plate appearances, and yet grounded into 23. And for his efforts, after being one of the only good things that the Phillies had going for them during this 1987 campaign of theirs, James was rewarded and honored by receiving a vote for the National League Rookie of the Year. Now, did he win this award? Not even close. In fact, when it came to first place votes, it was a unanimous win for Benito Santiago, the catcher on the San Diego Padres who hit .300 and won a Silver Slugger. This was the 5th time ever that the NL Rookie of the Year was won unanimously. However, he became the first Phillies batter since Juan Samuel in 1984, and just the second Phillies batter in the last 7 years to get a vote. He was one of the best young players that the team had in a long time, and on paper, it seemed well-deserved that a writer gave him a vote to recognize him for his accomplishments and for his great, consistent play as an everyday player in left field. However, as you might have been able to guess, there was just one small problem. There was just one teeny tiny problem with Chris James receiving a vote for NL Rookie of the Year. That's right, you guessed it, James wasn't a rookie. He was in no way whatsoever eligible for this award, because as it turns out, he exceeded his rookie limits 1 year before in 1986. Here's what happened. In 1986, James only played in 16 games and got 48 plate appearances. Now, playing in the majors for just a few games, seeing as he only played in less than 10% of Philadelphia's games that season, doesn't strip you of your rookie status. Heck, that same year of the controversy in question, in 1987, Randy Myers of the New York Mets got some votes for NL Rookie of the Year, even though he pitched a bit in 1985 and 1986. And that was perfectly legal. He was eligible. You can learn more about Myers by clicking the card in the upper right corner. Position players, if we're just going off of at-bats, don't lose their rookie eligibility until 150 at-bats. So James was still in the clear. However, during that 1986 season, James suffered a broken bone in his left ankle and had to be placed on the disabled list. And this stint on the DL wasn't a short stint. Instead, he stayed on the list for more than 3 months with this injury. Per MLB rules, any player who was on the 24-man roster for more than 45 days would be considered a rookie for that season and lose their eligibility for the following season. By staying on the DL, James accrued way more than 45 days of service time. As it turns out, in 1986, he accrued a whopping 125 days of service time, meaning that he passed the eligibility mark by roughly 300%, having triple the number of days he needed to qualify as a rookie. And this meant that 1986, where he played in a few games and hit 283 before spending a lot of time on the DL, was his true rookie season, not 1987. And it's not like this was an unknown thing or a technicality that no one knew about. A feature story was done on James in the Philadelphia Daily News midway through the hot streak of the summer that James was having. And it explicitly stated in the article that James was ineligible for Rookie of the Year. He could not win the award. As writer Bill Collins said, the haste that resulted in James being recalled in late April of '86 to replace the injured Gary Maddox wound up costing him a shot at Rookie of the Year honors this season. Although he batted just 46 times, a long stint on the disabled list with a broken bone in his left ankle left Chris with 125 days of Major League service time. Ineligibility for Rookie of the Year is one of the hazards of life in a test tube. So if you knew the rules of baseball, like a writer and an informed voter should, you would have known that James physically could not receive a vote because he was not eligible. And yet, despite all of that, one writer gave him a vote. We don't know who the writer is, but Jack Lang, a writer for the New York Daily News, who is the secretary-treasurer of the BBWAA and was responsible for counting the votes, took responsibility for not realizing the oversight. As Lang said, "It's my fault for not checking. In the future, I'll have to double check." And yeah, that's a pretty big oversight to improperly count the votes and not check it twice, seeing as your one job is to properly count the votes, and you somehow fail to do that. As Pirates Media Relations Director Greg Johnson said on the whole ordeal, the sophomore jinx was so bad that people didn't even know that James was a sophomore. On the bright side, at least no one was dumb enough to give James a vote for Rookie of the Year in 1988 or 1989 or any other year of his career. But it's insane that the one year that James actually got recognized for his talents and got a Rookie of the Year vote, he wasn't even a rookie. Nice going. So let this be a lesson to all writers out there and anyone who is filling out any sort of ballot of any kind. Make sure that when you fill it out, the person in question is eligible and can actually win. Don't write in a presidential candidate who wasn't born in the United States or who is not 35. Don't vote for Albert Pujols to make the Hall of Fame in 2024 when he is not eligible yet. And don't vote for a player who is not a rookie for Rookie of the Year. If you're voting this year, don't vote for Stephen Kwan or Spencer Strider or Julio Rodriguez or any of those guys, because much like Chris James in 1987, they are not eligible to win this award. Not even close. Because in 1987, for whatever reason, the only thing that it seemed like the Phillies had a chance at winning was something that they weren't even eligible for. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.